Alright guys, it's time for another coaster review. This is Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland, the latest B&M Dive coaster to be built. I'm going to be giving you my full thoughts on it, the layout, basically everything. So without further ado, let's start with the stats. Yukon Striker has a drop of 245 feet, top speed of 80 miles an hour, track length of 3,625 feet, and of course, like most other dive coasters, an angle of descent of 90 degrees straight down. So guys, I'm going to talk to you pretty much everything about this coaster. I've currently ridden it only 3 times, but since it's at my home park, I will be riding it a lot more throughout the season. So I could give you updated thoughts eventually, but for now, this is just my review of the 3 rides. So, this is Yukon Striker, the second dive coaster I've ridden at the moment, the other being Valorant at Cedar Point. And guys, unfortunately, for me, Yukon Striker was a bit of a disappointment. Not gonna lie. Now, I don't really like Valorant at all. If you check out my top 25 roller coasters in the world, you'd see that Valorant is not very high at all. So, I didn't really expect Yukon Striker to be, like, blowing... didn't really expect it to blow my expectations away, and it did not. But I was kind of hoping that it would be a substantial difference from Valorant, but it wasn't. It was just a little bit better, in my opinion. Not that much, but the slightest bit. Like, the drop into the underwater tunnel was great, and it does have some stronger versions, but there's just nothing about this coaster that really blew me away, which is why I'm not the biggest fan of it. But let's go over the layout. So you go up the 223-foot lift hill, and then as soon as you reach the top, you make a right-hand turn and go through the holding brake, every dive coaster signature element, for about 5 seconds, and then you go down 245-foot, 90-degree vertical drop into an underwater tunnel. And it was good, but the vest restraints just ruined it for me. Like, I think the vest restraints really made a big impact on how good the ride was. If it had the standard B&M over-the-shoulder restraints, then maybe it would have been better. Then you hit the Immelman and the Zero G roll, which are both fantastic inversions. Definitely some of the best parts of the ride. The vertical loop didn't really do much to me. Like, it just seemed kind of forceless and useless. And then the final Immelman, before going into mid-course brake run, which I've said before, is one of the longest mid-course brake runs I've ever seen. It just keeps going and going, and you lose all your momentum that you had. So the vest restraints are already bad enough, and now we have this mid-course brake run. And then the drop after the mid-course brake run is alright. You don't feel much again with the vest restraints because they're so tight on you. But I mean, whatever, you just have to deal with it. And then you have one final helix into the brake run, and that's pretty much Yukon Striker. It is a fairly long ride, but the second half is kind of useless. Now, one of the things I really like about Yukon Striker is the loose articles policy. So instead of lockers or bins in the station, you actually place your stuff in this moving bin right before entering the station. And it's actually really smart because you don't have to waste any time for dispatches, because in the station it will take time. And also, when you reach the exit, the bin will be there with your stuff, so that's really cool. Now, I did hear that Cedar Point got metal detectors for Steel Vengeance for this season, but I still don't think that that's as good of a policy as this is. I hope other new future Cedar Fair coasters have this policy because it's really good. So now I'll just give you some more general thoughts about this coaster, some other little things that I noticed. One thing is that how much this coaster really eats up the GP. Now, I did know the dive coasters in the past are big crowd pleasers, but people are really they've been worshiping this coaster based on what I've seen in the park. Everyone's gone up to it and has been screaming and yelling and complimenting and have all been lining up for it. So, I mean, Canada's Wonderland does have a success on their hands, that's for sure. But, I mean, it even seems like other enthusiasts such as Brendan from Amusement Insiders and Mr. Roller Coasters really seem to love this ride, and it just seemed like I wasn't one of those people. Now, when I go ride this coaster more, many more times during the season, then maybe my opinion will change. And if it does, I promise I'll let you know. But as of right now, this coaster is just mediocre at best. It's the 3rd best in the park, in my opinion, still behind Behemoth and Leviathan. In my order would probably be Leviathan number 1, Behemoth number 2, and Yukon Striker number 3. But guys, you never know. That could change in the future. I still have yet to ride this coaster in the front row because I rode as a single rider. And in the single rider line, you can't ride in the front row because they have a separate line if you want to be in the front row. So next time I visit, I better go in that front row line so I can ride it in the front seat. Because I got 2 back row rides and 1 middle row ride, and both of them were just kind of decent. And I do like the front row on dive coasters, so that might change my opinion. And guys, I just want to say one more thing. This is my first time shooting off ride footage, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I wouldn't exactly say it's the best, but I mean, hey, it's footage. So guys, for Yukon Striker's final score, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think that is a pretty good score, considering that I said so many would seem to be negative things about it. No, guys, I don't hate Yukon Striker. I really don't. It's just not exactly on the same page as other roller coasters that I've ridden, such as like Steel Vengeance or Lightning Rod, Millennium Force, Maverick, Leviathan, Behemoth, and those kind of coasters. Even Tennessee Tornado, Thunderhead. Like, it's still a really, really good coaster, which is why I'm still giving it a solid score. But just don't expect me to ever rave about this coaster or say things that would act as if like I'm blown away or anything. No, it's a good ride. Yes, it is. It is a good coaster. Do I recommend you guys coming out to Canada's Wonderland to go and ride this thing? Yes, it is. If you live a few hours away, then come by and check it out. So guys, that'll wrap it up for my Yukon Striker review. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.